Let's get to our next guest right now because he's on the air for his own show at the top of the hour on every day from 3 to 7 Eastern time. Paul Finebaum of the Paul Finebaum Show, kind enough to come back here sitting on his set. Good to see you, Paul. How are you, sir?
Rich, doing great. Thank you.
I'm pleased to have you here. I really just want to pick your brain on what happened with Brian Kelly at LSU, and I give you the floor on filling in why he got bounced this past weekend.
Ultimately, he failed to meet expectations. Have you ever heard that in a firing?
Yes.
But mostly, he not only lost his locker room, but he lost the entire fan base. And it went so quickly and so dramatically. I mean, they were actually ahead in that game in the second quarter. The third and fourth quarters were against Texas A&M, the number 3 team in the country, were a complete and total disaster. And when the fans start cheering fire Kelly in the fourth quarter instead of cheering for your team, I think a lot of people took note, namely the governor of Louisiana. Now, Rich, don't be shocked when I tell you the politics and football mix pretty widely
Right.
in the South. The governor put out a tweet after the game saying, "I don't know why the board of trustees decided to raise ticket prices after watching this game," and that set off a snowball that ended up with Kelly being fired. They're still negotiating his $54 million buyout.
Well, can you explain to folks why buyouts for him, James Franklin, others that I'm sure we're not talking about because the coaches aren't in danger of being fired or threatening to leave? Why are buyouts so massively, absurdly large?
It's
Paul?
easy to answer. There's the 3 biggest buyouts in history were Jimbo Fisher at 76 million, Texas A&M, Franklin, and Brian Kelly. I'm not trying to turn this into a Final Jeopardy question, but who is Jimmy Sexton is the answer to the question, the agent of all 3. And Jimmy Sexton is this agent that started his business with one client, Reggie White. When he was a manager at the University of Tennessee in the 80s, he moved to Memphis and developed as close to a monopoly, not only pro football coaches, but college coaches, assistant coaches. And these ADs just get taken every time he walks into their office with another client. And right now, he also represents Lane Kiffin. So he's negotiating with Ole Miss about a new extension for Kiffin, even though he just got one, while he shops Kiffin around at Florida and LSU and literally any other school that has an opening.
So let me just take that and put a pin in what you just mentioned about Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Paul Finebaum here on the Rich Eisen Show. An agent is obviously as talented as Jimmy Sexton is one thing, but you have to have a willing partner to say, absolutely, let's put that figure in a contract. Why do programs agree to that, Paul?
Well, because you have athletic directors who are good stewards of their program. They go to the volleyball games, they go to the basketball games, but they're no match for a guy who is employed by CAA, one of the biggest talent agencies in the world, and who's basically saying, if you don't sign my guy to this deal, I'm taking him somewhere else. And that AD who looks down at his phone every 5 seconds to make sure what people are saying about him on social media says, okay, I can get that done. Just like a week ago, Rich, in the Big Ten, you saw Kurt Signetti get this $94 million deal. Now, most reasonable people think, okay, he's done an amazing job, but 3 or 4 years from now, just for the sake of argument, if things don't go well at Indiana, they're going to have to buy him out. But at the moment that these coaches get the deals, everybody is in favor of it. So they agree to ridiculous buyouts. And then where you get the buyouts to even go up higher is when you get the extension, when your guy may be going to Penn State or in this case LSU, and the agent who is always Jimmy Sexton walks in. And let me correct myself. I actually included Kelly as a Jimmy Sexton client. He is not. He's actually a Trace Armstrong client. So I know I misspoke there. But the reason why I bring up Sexton is that Sexton started this chain of events with Jimbo Fisher. So I'm glad I could before Jimmy Sexton and Trace Armstrong start calling you and saying I've
No,
misrepresented them.
no, I know Trace. Trey used to be my agent when I was with CAA back in the day. I love Trace. He's one of the smartest guys in the business, to say the least. And I think he represents what feels to me whenever I'm around him, everyone else in college football and also professional football at the coaching level. So, but back to Lane Kiffin now. Why would he leave Ole Miss, right? Or and why, if you can build, for instance, a program like Signetti in Indiana, and you can be one of the 12 to get into a college football playoff from there, and you can be one of the 12 to get into college football playoff from Ole Miss, isn't that all you need, Paul, is to get to a spot where you can get into the college football playoff and be competitive enough to get the kids either via portal or the old-fashioned way by sitting in a living room and saying you should come to my school, Paul?
Exactly. I don't mean to go back to what I just said a minute ago, but
Sure.
the mistake I made was that Scott Woodward, the athletic director, Rich, at LSU, who fired Kelly, was also the athletic director who hired Jimbo Fisher.
Yes.
So a little confusing here with all the buyouts.
He's Mr. Buyout, right? Like he's setting records. But now to the matter at hand here, right? It's just like things have changed in a way.
They have. Lane Kiffin's team is capable of winning the national championship at Ole Miss, but there's something about this allure of other schools for Lane Kiffin. You know him well. He was maybe the youngest head coach ever for Al Davis with the Raiders. He's already been the head coach at Southern Cal, where he was fired on the tarmac 12 years ago. And he just, while he has turned down a number of jobs to stay in Oxford, which is one of the greatest college towns of all time, Rich. I mean, there's nothing quite like going to a football game at the Grove, where the white tablecloths and the china is more expensive than the buyout sometimes of the coach at the school. But I just sense that he looks at LSU, he looks at Florida, another opening, and he's just a kid again, and he wants to try something new. So that's why I think most of us look at Lane as somebody who could be a wanderer and could take one of those two jobs.
Do you think, Paul Finebaum, it behooves any of these athletic directors to shoot their shot and call Nick Saban at all, or that's just really fodder for stuff like us to talk about, Paul?
It's actually a very legitimate question for this reason. Nick Saban was the coach at LSU. He won the national championship there in 2003. And Saban left in 2005 to go to the Dolphins. Wayne Huizenga offered him this deal. And in many ways, he always regretted it. While Alabama was where he made his mark, it was only 6 national championships.
Yes.
There was this gravitational pull about Baton Rouge. His family loved it. And it probably is the only place that could get a conversation with Nick Saban. So let's go ahead and finish this. What would it take to get Nick Saban to leave the game day set, sitting next to McAfee every Saturday, to go to LSU? It would take more than he made at Alabama, which was about $10 or $11 million. But if they came up with a package, Rich, I think you could literally fill in the number. Do I think Saban would think about it for a minute? Yes, I do. There's a lot of risk involved. His name is on the field at Alabama. He's already the greatest coach in college football history. And he did that at a school that previously had the greatest coach in college football history in Bear Bryant. But he's also a competitor. How many times have you seen this in the NFL where some guy, we just saw it in college where Bill Belichick came back. Other coaches have come back out of retirement. Bud Wilkinson in the 70s, I think, was the great Oklahoma coach. He went to coach for the St. Louis Cardinals. It ended badly, as most of these comebacks do. Bill Walsh came back. I think Nick Saban, for an unbelievable amount of money, where he said, I just can't turn that down, could possibly at least engage in a conversation. And can I ask you to guess the trivia question of the day? Who do you think is Nick Saban's agent? The answer is Jimmy Sexton.
All right. Lots of connective tissue. I know about the Saban regretting LSU, and I read about it, I hear about it, I see the posts about it. I look at that and I'm like, he regrets leaving LSU, but I think he regrets that he left him for the Dolphins. You know, like he regrets going to the Dolphins maybe more than leaving LSU, where, you know, there was a choice between Dante Culpepper and Breeze, and he chose the Culpepper door. You know what I mean? Like, that's the regret if I had to choose any of them.
Yeah, and Saban's always blamed that on the sports medicine people who claim that, you know, Breeze wasn't going to qualify. But those stories don't matter anymore. But
right.
I mean, I don't think Nick Saban would take it. Nick Saban wouldn't talk to Penn State. He wouldn't talk to Florida. But I think he would talk to LSU, at least to see what they have to offer. And by the way, sometimes you can come back and make an offer that even a man who will be 74 years old on Friday night on Halloween might consider. I think it's worth thinking about. And I'm already hearing on our show down here in the South, Alabama fans saying, please tell me it's not true. Don't tell me that Nick Saban's going to LSU.
I'm already hearing from the Ohio State fans saying the same thing about Urban maybe showing up in Penn State. You know, like I'm already hearing stuff like that. Oh, but what do you think in a few minutes I have left with Paul Finebaum of the Paul Finebaum Show here on the Rich Eisen Show? What do you think about Brian Kelly's future? One of my favorite posts was somebody putting Kelly's face over a surfer dude saying, this is what Kelly would sound like if he went to UCLA. You know, like that was one of my favorite posts I've seen over the last couple of days. But what do you think is his future? Because do you just plug him in one of these other spots, or the buyout conversations going on right now might preclude that, Paul?
Yeah, so Rich, when you get fired, usually your big name, which he is, you have two choices. You take another job, probably a lesser job, or you go into television. Now, you tell me. You've been in television a long time. Can you see Brian Kelly in television? I can't. I think it would be a bad mix. So I think now that he's going to get that buyout, he would probably consider another job. And I say this, I know Brian Kelly very well. He used to, until this week, he did our show every Monday. It was a regular gig. He's a smart guy. He's analytical. He just went to the wrong place, and he went there after when he was at Notre Dame. He said, "I'm leaving Notre Dame to go to Baton Rouge to win a national championship." He never got close, and Notre Dame came very close last year.
Yeah. So I guess to finish up, what do you think is the most attractive gig? Is it LSU? And if so, then what do you think is second best, Paul?
Yeah, I think right now with the openings, and there'll be more this weekend, I can promise you that.
I think so, huh?
Wow. Yeah, it's LSU. The history there, the tradition. I mean, 3 coaches in a row won national championships. Saban, Les Miles, and Ed Orgeron. The last 2 I mentioned are not going to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. So you can win there. Florida is a sleeping giant. They've had 2 great coaches, Spurrier and Urban Meyer, and the last 4 coaches have been fired there. So the expectations there are not nearly as high as Baton Rouge. I think it's LSU, Florida, and Penn State right now in that order.
Paul, thanks for the time. Have a great show, and we'll do this again shortly, if you don't mind.
Oh, my bad. All the best. Thank you, Rich. Enjoyed it.
Now I owe you the back end of the home and home. Okay.
Thank you.
Anytime, Paul. Thanks again. That's Paul Finebaum, everybody. Check him out on the Paul Finebaum Show on the Disney family of networks.
You want this, you got that. No way, watch them walk right past you.